Keep that thing away from me! Okay, people, today let's take a quick look at the Hasbro Marvel Legends Maximum Spider-Man.
Is it safe to talk about Maximum Spider-Man yet?
No, I just got mine last week, so here we are. Now, everybody has opinions on this, and that's fine and dandy. Negative, positive, there's a place for all of it. I just don't like it when people argue or start shitting on other people because of it. You know, it's toys. People are gonna buy what they want, and at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. There is not a single solitary person out there going, God damn, I am so happy that this Marvel Legends Spider-Man is $50. Yes! Yes! Well, it is the internet. I'm sure somebody said it and actually believed it, but the majority of people, collectors, reviewers, shows, not shows, internet, not internet, in person, at the store, nobody was going, I love it. What it really comes down to is whether or not you want this Spider-Man. There's been enough pictures, there's been enough opinions out there for you to make your own decisions. And if you're against it, then fine. If you're not, then here we are. I'm gonna take a look at the one I bought. Looking at the package, there is a big window right up there on front so you can see everything you're buying. There's no surprises here. There's the figure, there's the hands, there's the heads, there's the webs. Boom. Maximum Series Hasbro. Then, of course, the good old warning, choking hazard, small parts. This figure's far too expensive to be putting in your mouth hole, getting your juices all over it. On the side, there's a pretty promotional picture of our precious plastic posed up perfectly, but I really like this pose, along with more logos, Maximum Series, there's all the legalese, and in case you missed it on the front. On the side, they want to make sure to show you what you're getting, along with some graphics in the background. There's a window, Marvel Legends. On the top, Marvel Legends, Maximum Series, Spider-Man on bottom. There's the warnings again, legalese, barcode. Let's get this open. And there it is. Are you what all the fuss is about? It is a McFarlane Spider-Man. It has all of those beats. It's lanky, but not too lanky. It's muscular, but not too muscular. It's tall, but not too tall. Short, but not too short. It's busy, but not too busy. It's creepy, but not too creepy. It's found the middle ground of everything that I want from a Spider-Man. Well, okay, design-wise, I am gonna admit, I do prefer a lighter blue than this, but I understand the design aspect of this. The busy webs, this logo, the size of these eyes, the logo on the back. It's supposed to have a darker blue, and that's what it has, so I can accept that. At least until we get another take on Spider-Man using this body, maybe with a new head, the sculpt of the eyes different, the webs more sparse, a different logo, lighter blues, lighter reds. But again, I am just fine with this because I knew what I was getting into when I bought it. The painted on webs are a negative to some people, but I don't mind. To me, this is what a costume from the comics would look like. It's not the movies. It's not super textured. It's not raised up or made by a scientist. Peter made this at home. In a cave.
With a box of scraps!
Don't get me wrong, I get it. I really, really do. The extra detail would be amazing. Spider-Man. If I'm going by my own personal preferences, then painted on webs is the way to go. It's got that flatness to it. Again, it's intricate. There's a lot of little lines within these webs, but there's also a simplicity to it because it's just painted on, because it's just comic book costume. And that's what I think of when I think of this version of Spider-Man. But then, of course, there's the physics-bending lenses that move around and do emotions depending on what Peter's feeling. So what the hell do I know? Although if you were swinging through town and falling off buildings and jumping from things, you'd want the lenses this big so you could see in the periphery, you could see down without having to move your head as much. But like I said, there's also the suspension of disbelief when we get to the accessories and the eyes are different, like a weird oddball look. I put my peepers on a minute ago and went looking at the webs, and for the most part, mine seem to be fairly clean. They're connected, they go around the musculature. There is right here on top of the head a slight break where the seam line runs across, but it's not too terrible. It kind of kicks back right there, but really that's the only... Oh wait, right here. There is some paint missing right on the small of his back. Oh, and I do find the way it's attached right here odd. like it's supposed to keep coming around the face, but it's going around the lens. That was done on purpose. These two lines just ending because it's also that way on the other side. Coming back around after some Playday action, ooh, look how dull the plastic is now. I did notice that the webs do break here at the neck a little bit. The lines kind of miss. Same right here on the back of the left glove, which unfortunately means it also spreads a little bit on the front. I missed them the first time around because it was, oh, new toy out of the package, yay, let's do this. But I eventually came back around and saw them. They're not huge, but after looking at how good everything else is, they do stand out slightly. Overall, I'm happy with the paints, and I'm happy with the proportions, and I'm happy with the sculpt of the muscles, which I haven't really went through, but you can kind of see them. There's the pecs and those muscles, and I don't know anatomy. Here's legs and lower legs, and there's feet. They may be a little long, but we're talking about comic books here. I guess the shoulders are kind of low. There's a slope from neck going down to those, but I think that's to integrate the butterfly shoulders into the body and make them move this much. I talked about this just the other day with a different figure, but I like the hinge at the waist and then a dumbbell joint mid-torso because the crunchiness is where it needs to be to get that forward movement. I probably wouldn't like it as much on somebody else where it breaks the design more, but here the red comes down right into the sides of that joint. No matter where you go, the costume doesn't look like it's just ending and shooting off somewhere else. You know, like the dumbbell joint does if you do this. But hey, I'm just looking for some crunch. Messing around with it, I have noticed if I get rowdy with the legs and they go closer together, it drops the legs down automatically, and there's no way to push them back up unless you bring them back out. It's not full-on splits, but it does kind of drop down a little bit, get gappy. I think if there was a little bit of material removed here, maybe it wouldn't run into the crotch. Yeah, it's not touching quite yet. This may be something that's just mine. On the left leg, at the boot cut, the lower half of that lines up pretty well with the top half, but on the right side, you can see that it juts out a bit in the back. The front also has kind of a lip, almost like the peg coming down out of the blue is shifted back slightly. I also find the hollowness of the toe part kind of weird. I don't know if there's a purpose to that. You bend it, you put him up on his toes, and wait a second, what's going on there? Is this... Oh, this part's sticking out at an angle. That's weird. And while I'm nitpicking, the lower knee joint on the left side was also very, very tight. I went to bend it and it was just flexing on this peg, but I eventually got it to break loose. It's still tight, but it'll bend. And you saw how that gaps up when I pushed down. It's not super gummy. It's not flopping around or anything. It's just really tight on that lower half. Any more big negatives jumping out at me before we get to articulation? No, not really, because even in neutral stance, Spider-Man just standing here, it looks good. It's got a nice silhouette to it. Going over articulation, there is a hinge at the top of the neck with a ball going up into the skull, then a ball joint down at the base of the neck. Altogether, you crank back, you look up, you can push forward, look down. Not as much tilt as I was hoping, but he can look left and right like only a spider can. Butterfly joint goes forward, goes way back. Pin coming out to the shoulder rotates all the way around with a hinge that goes up to there. Swivel at the bicep, double elbow, oh, all the way up. Swivel at the glove cuff, which would usually bother me, but again, it's worked into the costume. So when you turn it, it doesn't make it look oddball. Plus that serves a purpose later with accessories. Below that is a swivel with a hinge in and out on the fists. The dumbbell at the mid-torso gets some crunchy, gets some arc back, some tilt, rotation, all kinds of hula hoop action. Then with the hinge at the waist, you can get that far, add that, then arc back that far. Hell of a drop down hip with a ball on the end that allows the leg to come up to here, and not quite all the way out. Swivel at the thigh. Double knee has no problem kicking his own ass. Swivel at the boot. Hinge at the ankle goes way back and forward. There's a front facing pin for rocker, and then a toe joint that goes to there. Essentially a lot of joints with some good range. It is hindered in a couple places. I'd like to see the head go back further than this, maybe even further down, but that doesn't mean it can't pose. It's a nice Spider-Man when it comes to that, and it's fluid. You can bring it down. Okay, There is a bit of, whoa, is it dropped down? Especially when you get like that. We're just trained to automatically think, oh, it's broke. But it gets around, drop it down, get it further up. And you can go even further if you bring that to here and then rotate the leg and get it bent down. So yeah, there's ways to work around some things. Some ways to get amazing poses. Spectacular even. In fact, the more and more I mess around with it, the more I like it because it is just a posing bastard. I'm gonna take it from neutral and go to a 4-point stance because that is the determination when it comes to a good Spider-Man figure, right? And we're gonna bring the legs down, pop those down, bring this in, bend the toes, bring that up, bend it again, toe, and done. Not too, okay. So there, you got to find the center of balance. And it doesn't look like it's broken out of place. There's not parts and pieces segmented in places. It's just a good crouching stance. And it'll look even better when you swap these out for the appropriate hands. For accessories, like I mentioned, there are 2 fists. It's Marvel Legends, so those pop right out. Then you can swap in 2 grip hands that have up and down hinges. There's 2 thwip hands. The right seems a little relaxed. There's some bend to the fingers, while the left is no nonsense. The fingers are straight. This is serious thwipping. And then my favorite's always the wall crawlers because it's Spider-Man. He's gonna be wall crawling at some point or doing some kind of dynamic posing. Don't forget, there's also the cut at the forearm. That's the swap on the gloveless forearms that it both exposes the fleshy hands and his web shooters. I like the silver here because it pops against the reds and the blues. This time the right hand has the straight on fingers and the left isn't quite there yet, almost like he's about to thwip. Unfortunately, no articulation to the wrists, which I can kind of see. If it bent, it would break the bar coming up for that, but it could have just came up the hinge. They could have painted, in fact, well, no, that would have been silver on the back side. Still though, painted up, hinge, it wouldn't have broke, and then it turns with the hand, so it still wouldn't have broke. That and the hands feel a little large compared to the gloved hands. I'd probably use these for a couple of pictures, like Peter didn't have enough time to get the full costume on, which plays into another accessory. There is also this unmasked head. And when I saw the promo pictures and then a few people's pictures of it out of the package, I thought, well, it's not too bad. But now that I have it in person, oh, it's kind of creepy. Hey, what's everybody doing after work tonight? You want to come over and just hang out? We see this sometimes with smiling sculpts. The mouth is sculpted like it's a grin, but the cheeks and the eyes don't convey that. The eyes need to be closed a little. No, I didn't join a cult. The eyes are even wide for not grinning face. Look at that. I wasn't watching you in the shower. I've seen some people talk about the paint, but I think it's the sculpt. It's just kind of odd. There's another alternate masked head that I was talking about earlier where the eyes aren't symmetrical, kind of giving it an emotion, like he's raising one eyebrow or something. But the more I look at this, the more I don't like this either. This is okay, and even this is okay. I feel like the white paint missed the line a little bit right there. But like this, it looks like somebody punched him in the right side of his head and it's swelling up. I get what they were going for, but I just don't care for it. What do we got on the lines on the top of the head? These are fairly clean too. But I bought the Spider-Man because of this head, the main head. That's what I'm looking for. I do like this spider sense effect though, the clear plastic, the painted on tingles. That just kind of fits on like a crown. The best way I've found is to put it on where it feels loose and then push straight back with it a bit, just enough to get it to pinch itself on there. There's trouble, gang! Just imagine a group of these doing synchronized dancing or swimming even, just Then we get into the web effects, and I should have probably counted these as hands, but since they had webs, I'm putting them in the web effect part. That and I forgot about them because they are actually hands. But there's 2 thwip hands, one with a shorter web on it, kind of that straight line with the McFarlane twisties on it. And then there's a more traditional look that spreads out like a spider web. And yeah, I wouldn't mind displaying it with those. They're not huge. They're not going to take up a lot of space, but they still show Spider-Man in action. There are 2 rubbery McFarlane style spaghetti webs, and I love the sculpt on these. They aren't the same either. This one has a big twist on the end. This one has a smaller twist. and then different spin arounds and everything. Then this one comes out like it's become unthreaded or something, while this one has another spin at the end, a spring looking part. There's no wires in them, no posability, it just flops around. These, I think, are just meant to clip onto something, and then you can have Spider-Man hanging by his grip hands. There's this web that looks like it's shooting out to spread out and attach to something, or down around somebody, or capturing, or just firing, old school style. He can even spin a web into a shield. Shouldn't be a problem around that smaller wrist. We're not talking about Captain America or anything. We are talking about Captain Spider-Man. I like the slight translucency to all these, but it's also pearlescent. It's got a shine. Same thing for these and this. Same thing for this web attack missile type thing. Hit this upside somebody's head and knock them out, but it is kind of fishy, kind of. In order to have him shooting that, there is this stand. There's a disc on bottom. I just plug that in. There's a hinge here and a hinge here. And then there's a hole right here that took me way too long to find. And there you go. Action-y. Size-wise, Max Spider-Man stands at about 6 3/16, which, like I said earlier, isn't too tall, isn't too short, especially compared to the Marvel Legends Amazing Fantasy 15 Spider-Man and the Renew Your Vows Spider-Man. It's right there in between these two. I think of Amazing Fantasy as very young Peter. This is adult Peter. This can be that in-between age. Just looks badass with other Marvel Legends like Wolverine and Captain America, both with custom heads. Same goes for the Marvel Legends Punisher and Daredevil. Spider-Man looks right at home in between, trying to keep them from killing each other. Also looks pretty good between the Medicom Mafex, Venom, and Carnage, my shelf versions of these characters. Yeah, I'm one of those that doesn't mind the size of this Venom because I love the look so much. But if you just gotta know, here he is with the Marvel Legends Venom, or one of the few Marvel Legends Venoms I have. I really need to update to that 85th anniversary Walmart version. But since we brought in imports, here is the Kyoto Amazing Yamaguchi Spider-Man and the... I forgot the name of this. The Sentinel Into the Spider-Verse Spider-Man. Sure, these are different costumes, different sources, but I just wanted to give you a little glance. Because finally I'm going to bring in the Medicom Mafex Spider-Man. I don't have the updated version with the brighter colors. This is the original. And no, it's not a bootleg. I got this when it released. It's almost like two different artists' take on the McFarlane style Spider-Man, which essentially that's what it is. Two different companies' takes on the McFarlane Spider-Man. Sculpted in webs, painted on webs. Pale blue, dark blue. And again, I realized there was a re-release with more comic accurate colors. I'm just going by what I got. Couple of tight joints, couple of loose joints, and one leg is longer than the other on mine. You can see how the left knee is up higher than the right. And I've got the right shifted down at the drop down. But that's not me shit talking this again to talk this one up. I'm just saying that's what I have. Because I will point out the shade work on the red, and I do like that. It gives it a little bit more depth. On the Marvel Legends, it's just red and blue and black and some white. So yeah, different strokes, different folks. There's options out there. Crouch off! Or the beginning of a Spider-Man Human Centipede. Here is the Marvel Legends Amazing Fantasy 15, the Maximum, the Renew Your Vows, and then the Medicom Mafex. Gotta admit, the Mafex does do it pretty good. And then the Renew Your Vows is a little stiff. I think a lot of that is the dumbbell in the neck and then the drop down hips. Amazing Fantasy would benefit a lot from toe joints, but out of the Marvel Legends figures at least, he looks the most up, or at least the most forward. The Maximum is the tightest when it comes to the arms and legs, but then doesn't look quite all the way forward. That's another place where the Mafex has it beat. But I have seen people do this trick. If you take the neck and turn it around and then bring the head back forward, you can kick it back even further, and it does have a bit more forward range. At least as much as the Amazing Fantasy with its bigger hinge. And about on par with the Mafex. Well, I don't know. The Mafex feels a bit more natural in that department. Now, they are plastic action figures. They don't flex and squish out of the way like muscles and flesh and bone. So there's going to be some oddness, like the gap through the legs that is present on pretty much all four of them. While I'm looking at it like this, I noticed Amazing Fantasy, I didn't have the butterflies all the way engaged, so it gives it a little bit more. but it still feels a bit blocky. Mafex and Maximum has that shoulder droop to get the arms further down. And it's okay, you don't have to cry, you still look good. Just crunching over, the Renew Your Vows is comparable to Maximum. I think Max does have a slight edge over it though. It's also better than Amazing Fantasy and the Mafex. Even though I'm pretty dang happy with the figure itself, I think I'm gonna do some play day. Because what's my name? It's Robo. And I like to play. What I think I'm gonna do is pop the neck out and see if I can clear out some plastic, try to get it moving a bit more. And then I may try to get here and clear a little bit out in order to put the legs straight up and down. I mean, they go, but as I pointed out, it does cause it to gap here because it's actually dropping the hips down to get to that position. All right, there you go, bud. Let's heat you up. Since there's not a lot to grip, I'm gonna take this flathead screwdriver and just get up under the back of the neck. That way if I mar it or... There we go. Okay, not too bad. I'm gonna carve this lip away. I'm gonna make the outside of this hole wider. In fact, I may go out to the web lines. You can see how deep it goes. As long as I don't get down to the bottom edge before it opens up for the ball joint, I should be okay. I'm just making a little clearance. Okay, to heat this back up, I'm just gonna bring out the heat gun. No need to drop it in the water again. And that freed up the tilt considerably. And can now touch the chin to the chest and look most of the way up in this position. I'm gonna carve it a bit more on the back just to have extra clearance. In fact, I'm going to take out a little bit of the web line just because I wanna. Quite a bit more movement to the neck itself and looking most of the way up. I think now it's running into the actual back up here. If I wanted more, I need to take some out of the back of the skull. I think I'm just going to stick with that. And then here's the scary part. Do I want to get into here? I guess if I screwball it, it won't matter much because it'll be mostly hidden, except for poses that have it way open wide like that. How about I just do this? Just the first slice, just to get it out of the way. Okay, how about a second slice? 3. Actually, it's mounted way down there. There's quite a bit of plastic to slice away, so I'm gonna get a little deeper. Did it do anything? Doesn't take much, apparently. See, the body is straight up and down. This leg is now straight up and down. This one is jutting out slightly. Go ahead and do the other side because we're past the point of no return, right? And there it is in neutral position. It really does look like the legs are straighter up and down. There's still gap at the hips, but they left the crotch open in order to maximize the range at the hips. It's not a huge difference. I think beforehand it was like this, just slightly spread. And if you tried that, the hip would drop down. Now I can go kind of straight up and down. And then again, the neck has more tilt to it, which was one of the things that bummed me out in the articulation segment. But it also helps with the up and the down because it also tilts forward and back now. And what I cut away will never be seen. It never comes out of the torso. In fact, I could have cut more. But like I said, I think now it's hitting on the plastic of the back. Still, slight improvements that, yes, I know that we shouldn't have to do to a $50 action figure, but I enjoy this kind of stuff. I love the little problem-solving things. Problems we shouldn't have in the first place, but again, that's part of the fun for me. You know what else is fun? Some Mr. Hobby, Mr. Super Clear matte. I hadn't said anything up to this point, but it does have a plastic shine to it. Let's see if we can dull that down and make this feel a little bit more premium. Ooh, look at that. Knocking down the shine allows the details to pop out a bit more. It feels like it darkened it down slightly, but I'm okay with that. You know I forgot to take neutral shots before spraying it down, so I'm gonna scrub back through the video, and I am sure I was holding it like this at some point. And I'll put that to the side, do a little comparison, but looking at it just now, it's definitely duller. And I don't mean duller as not as fun or exciting, I mean the shine, the sheen. I've already shot the rest of the actual review, so once we leave the Playday section, it'll go back to being a bit glossy, so don't freak out. I wanted to make sure all that was done before potentially messing it up with a spray can or a knife. Here it is with a custom casting cave Peter Parker head, and I really like this. It's a lot better than Psychotic Peter that we got in the package.
Who you calling psychotic, man? Say it to my face!
Now, I don't mind this being floppy, but here I have nothing to clip this to keep it straight. I put it in Spider-Man's hand and it just kind of won't. So I'm going to twist this twist tie that I got with a Mythic Legions figure a couple weeks back and just kind of bring it here. Just do a twist every now and then to keep it in place. I should probably get a longer one that would reach end to end, but even just like this, grip it right here, it's going to stay up like he's swinging. That also gives it a slight bit of posability. It'd probably work better if I was using a heavier gauge of wire or twisty tie, but it holds it in places if you wanted to add a little action to it. So at the end of the day, I am pretty dang happy. I think I said it at the first and somewhere in between. This is what I was looking for when it comes to a Spider-Man. That's not to say previous Marvel Legends Spider-Mans were just a complete disappointment to me. No, I just have certain aspects that I like, and a lot of those Spider-Mans had those aspects, but this seems to take all the aspects I want and shove them into one piece of plastic. It's got most of the accessories I could ask for, and then some that I don't really care for, but it's not all about me. I'm not going to grop about extra things in my package of things. Maybe other people will use those things, and hey, more power to them. But for me, it comes with the stuff I want, and then the figure does the things I want it to do. Is it $50 worth of Spider-Man? Oh, I don't know. Oh, I really don't know. I'm going to have to ponder a bit. No. Probably not, but at the same time, that $50 price tag is only going to hurt for a short time. Because there's been some higher figures over the past couple of years that I got knowing that they weren't quite deluxe, but after some months, after some time, after some healing, I come to find that I wanted the character. I wanted the figure on the shelf. So yeah, what'll probably happen is I pay the price for the figures that I really want, and then I get a bit more picky on other characters that I'm on the fence about. You gotta keep that teeter-totter teetered and tottered. So I'll pay your price, Hasbro, for a Spider-Man that I really want. But I'm not going to when it comes to a Hulk that I'm not really interested in. See how that works? That's moderation. You have to keep those urges in control, because we all have that voice in the back of our head that is just like, buy all of them. You need the complete collection. You need everything. And you have to go, no, I don't. Now, there's also that voice that says, hey, you already have like 16 Spider-Mans in a tub and on the shelves in various places. And we're playing a game of just a bit better. This one's just a bit better. Okay, here's another one that's a bit better. At the same time, the alternate side of that coin, there should always be a Spider-Man out and about for collectors who are either waiting for their version or are just jumping into the game or missed out or something. At the moment, I'm still a little sticker shocked, but then I look over here and okay. That's my Spider-Man. What can I say? Bye.